More brutal Russian shelling in Ukraine as both sides try to reach a ceasefire during a new round of talks. Ukraine says there's possible room for compromise despite the bombardment of Kyiv. And a shocking report from Mariupol, Russian forces bombing a theater where civilians were sheltering. Trey Yangst is in Kyiv with the latest. Trey?
Judge, good afternoon. An extremely disturbing report out of the southern Ukrainian city of Mariupol, where officials say Russian forces bombed a theater that this week had hundreds of people hiding in from Russian strikes. You can see in these satellite images before the bombing in the front and back of this theater, people had written the word children in Russian to let those forces know this was a place for civilians, not a place for military. You can see the destruction in the aftermath of this strike today. Rescue workers are still looking for anyone who might have been inside at the time of the strike. But just another example of Russian forces targeting civilian areas. Here in the capital of Kyiv, Russia continues to advance. They are now targeting buildings inside the city. This morning, 2 people were injured after a 12-story residential building was hit with a Russian shell. Rescue workers evacuated 37 others, according to a statement released by emergency services. Ukrainian air defense does remain active over the city as Russia also tries to attack from the air. Ukrainian officials say their military has launched a number of counter-offensives across this country. This drone video captures a Ukrainian strike against a Russian tank in the eastern part of the country. And in that southern city of Mariupol, thousands of people have been able to escape via car through humanitarian corridors, though the deputy prime minister of Ukraine says the agreements around these evacuation routes are being violated by the Russians and that some people are even being held hostage. She had this to say about the situation.
Occupants were shooting at humanity, convoys of buses, residential areas, and points of gathering of people, as well as taking as hostages the accompanying people. So, our rescuer, Olieski Danchenko, has been still kept hostage.
A short while ago, we heard air raid sirens in the capital city. We've heard small arms fire in the distance. All of this as Kyiv remains under a 35-hour curfew. Back to you.
Thanks, Trey. You know, Sandra, it seems that, you know, when we watch the buildup, we watch the 40-mile convoy, you know, do very little. But now it seems that they've gotten the word, be as brutal as possible. I mean, in the last few days, it's almost like, you know, just hit the civilians, hit the children, hit the refugee corridors, the hospitals. I mean, it's become more and more brutal. Is he desperate, Putin?
Absolutely. You know, you watch that and you watch the attacks on the civilians that we had today, and you go back to the question about air power. I was just looking at a tweet while we were at commercial break from Nikki Haley, who was saying that we need to allow the fighter jet transfers, but we also need to levy catastrophic sanctions on Russia's energy sector. To Greg's point, their economy has been decimated, but when they continue to carry out attacks like that, there is still military might and money behind that fight. And I think it's an interesting thing to bring up, going back to Zelensky's points this morning. In addition to everything he's asking for, he's still asking us to cut off all American companies from doing business in Russia. No Russian goods at American ports. I mean, there are still ways we could be cutting off Vladimir Putin in this moment. And there's some crazy stories out there about China. Obviously, China sees their oil on sale right now. There's talk about Saudi Arabia willing to cut off the use of the U.S. dollar for transferring oil sales to China and using the yuan for that, basing it on that, devaluing the U.S. dollar. So there still could be catastrophic consequences for Vladimir Putin when it comes to the economy, and decimating him from the ability to continue to ramp up the fight to the level that you just suggested.
You know, Jesse, what's interesting is that there were so many companies that decided on their own. They almost self-regulated. And they said, we're not going to do business with Russia. And then we need Zelensky, who's in the middle of a war. I mean, he's probably the most stressed guy in the world, or one of them. And he's got to remind Biden to say, you know, maybe you want to do what Sandra is talking about doing. It's really pathetic how we're not doing everything we can to stop Putin.
There's more we can do, and we're keeping that in our back pocket. And you want to be united with, well, I think you want to ramp it up if he goes and kills Zelensky, or if he does something worse. You got to, you know, always keep a few bullets in the chamber. And I don't think Germany's ready to go all in yet, but they might eventually get there. Here's how Putin survives this. Here's how Russia survives this. He has to cut a deal with Zelensky. If he kills Zelensky, he is worse than he is. I mean, he is the
Pariah.
Russian bin Laden at that point. Sanctions go from a 6 to a 10. You load that country up with weapons, and it's over. You'll have the economy of Mongolia you're looking at. So what he's going to do now is he will encircle the capital as fast as possible, and that changes the dynamic. And then that's when the real negotiations start. Zelensky has to decide, am I going to negotiate or die? If he dies, well, then that's it for Vladimir Putin. If he negotiates, Putin will say, I'll take this in the south, I'll take this in the east, and we'll negotiate neutrality, and then I'll back up and I'll try to take the sanctions away. That's his only game. That is his only end game at this point. But you know what? This is now the best armed insurgency in the history of mankind. These guys are armed to the teeth. You think about the American Revolutionary War, the Vietnam War. You know how long insurgencies can last. Almost 20 years was our last one. So we didn't have sanctions hitting us every day. The Russians have sanctions, so they're up against the clock, and that's why they have to move so fast to circle the capital.
You know, one of the things that Zelensky says that Russia's now in these apparent negotiations behind, you know, that are background, that Russia is talking more realistically, and they're saying that there's cautious optimism, and that Kyiv should renounce the ambitions to join NATO, which Zelensky has already said he would do, and promise not to host foreign military bases or weaponry in exchange for protection from allies.
Here's my problem with negotiations in this particular case. I'm all for negotiations, generally speaking. Here, however, you have a baby killer. I hate to use, I mean, sometimes I tend to be hyperbolic. But this
Not you, Geraldo.
But this is true. This man has targeted women and children
But it's got
and
to
innocent
end.
civilians.
How does it end, Geraldo?
But my point is, going back to what both Jesse and Greg have said, this is Mother Russia is now has cancer. And the cancer is going to kill Mother Russia unless Mother Russia exorcises this demon. There's no way, I believe, that this man can negotiate anything. There's no way that Russia can have him as its face going forward and try to integrate itself back in the world economy. How do you fly back to Moscow now? How do you fly back to Moscow knowing that they unleashed hell on the most vulnerable population on earth, that they committed atrocities? Look what they're doing. They are in the business of destroying utterly a civilized, industrialized nation. They have taken a 21st century country there, and they're trying to send it back to the Stone Age. How do you negotiate with this person?
Well, how does it end is the better question.
It ends, I tell you. Here's that. Let me do very briefly. very briefly. Russia gets exhausted because of the heroism of the Ukrainians, and those Russian soldiers start going home. They start going in the same way they did in 1917 when they said, screw you, we're going home.
All right.
Going home.
Greg, how does it end?
Well, you know, God, I hate to say that Geraldo had a good point. But the fact is, Zelensky did something very smart in which he actually talks to the Russian soldiers. And he talks to the Russian soldiers about the future, assuming that you will be alive then, right? And he says, you know, you got to think about what it's going to be like after this. How are you going to go home? How are you going to face your family? And that was a pretty important thing. It wasn't today. It was some other time. And I do think, you know, Putin could end up being the face of Russia if Russia decides to become North Korea. That's the only way he can survive is of what did they used to call it, a Hamlet country? Russia is going to be so cut off. I was talking to my wife today about, you know, because I have relatives in Ukraine and in Moscow. And it's like they are disgusted and repulsed. They can't talk about it because they're terrified of the cops take their phones and look at their phones. It's like it's pretty much over for Putin as a world leader. He may he could take an off-ramp, as they call it. But after that, when he goes back, somebody's going to take care of him because they can't. Because to your point, they can't go forward with him as their face. It's like he has crapped the bed, and there's no use having him around anymore. I think Russia's going to take care of it.
Well, I think it depends on the power that he
like
has
that
in the
crap a bit.
military. But if the economy is shot, which it will be, then the question.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.